What is up, guys? And today I'm going to come at you to show you how to build a house rules style deck. Now, what that entails to is this is not a tournament style deck. House rules is basically you and your friends get together and you decide what works. So Magic the Gathering works for your entire group of people and has fun. A lot of Commander style, a lot of EDH is house rules. But this is a modern, standard house rule style deck. And there is 62 cards in that, and I'll explain how we allow this in house rules when I get to the cards that make it 62. But there are some ways to abide by full rules and regulations if you want to make this a 60 card deck. There's some that you can take out because they're basically just fillers. But this is a red, black, Swamps and Mountains, 62 card modern deck that I call Dirty Hookers. It's 120 horsepower of full iron under your crotch. Give it all. If you ain't first, you last. Hot virgins. Dirty hookers. Coming up right now. Alright, so first things first, guys. We're going to go ahead and get the lands out of the way. So the first thing you want to do, and I've run some really old cards in here just because whatever, but you want to get you 9 mountain, 9 swamps. You want to get you a card that's going to give you a little bit of both. So you want to run a Rocky Tar Pit, and again, it enters the battlefield tapped. When it untaps, you can search your library for either a swamp or a mountain card and put it in your battlefield. Then shuffle your library. So that's either or. So now you got 10 of each essentially. Go ahead and get you, here's a little bit of dirty, and this is one that you can take out to make your deck 60 cards instead of 62, but go ahead and run a Polluted Mire. It comes into play tapped, and you're going to add, when it untaps, you're going to add 1 swamp to your mana pool. The only reason I threw this one in there is because now you can cycle. So you can sack this and you can cycle to get more cards and potentially more lands. But this is an alternative. So if your friends don't want to play house rules and only allows you to have 60, take it out. Run your 60 without this. So there's your lands. Now you need some land searchers. So go ahead and get you get you 2 Terramorphic Expanse. Sacrifice the Terramorphic Expanse, search your library for a basic land card, and put it into your battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So that's just your land searchers. You always want to run a couple land searchers just so you can get some land. Let's go ahead and get into your enchantment. So your first hooker is going to be Eternal Thirst. And what Eternal Thirst does is it is an aura. So you're going to enchant your creature, and then the enchanted creature has a lifelink, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So this can go on any of your creatures to give it, whenever you remove their creatures, builds up that creature even more, and then it has lifelink. So any amount of damage it does, you get that life. So this can make your creatures big. It's a little bit dirty because it's an aura, and auras are pretty hard to get off unless you've got enchantment removals. Get you a handful, get you 2 of these. These are kind of my favorite cards to run in here. Makes this deck really, really dirty. The Elixir of Immortality. For a 1 cost, you put this on your battlefield. And then for a 2 cost, and to tap it, you gain 5 life. And then you shuffle the Elixir of Immortality and your graveyard into your library. So you get to, you want to run 2 of these because you're going to pull them out a shit ton of times, and you're always going to gain 5 life, and you're always going to start with a brand new hand. So if people want to go ahead and exile your cards, put them in the graveyard, whatever, you're getting them right back. So there's no real need to. This is going to save you from people who want to mill you out. Go ahead and start with your instance, and that was an artifact, by the way. So go ahead and get in your instance. So you want a Fiery Temper. So you want you want a Raging Bitch here. So Fiery Temper deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So that's that you can remove a creature, or you can go ahead and start hitting them pretty hard. It has Madness on it for an extra cost. So if you discard this card, discard it into exile, and when you do, cast it for its Madness cost. Boom. And put it into your graveyard. So, if it gets exiled, put it back in your graveyard. You got your Elixir of Immortality. That's going to bring this back into your hand. You can play this instant a few times. This is one that you can take out too to make your hand or make your deck 60 cards. It's always good to have a creature removal. So that's the only reason I threw this one in here. It's Terminate. It's an old card. Destroy target creature, and it cannot be regenerated. That's it. So that's another one that you can throw out to hold it at 60 cards. Now, you want to get into some good instance. The Macabre Mockery. For a 4 cost, it's kind of a high one. So this is one you're going to probably draw pretty early and just hold on to until you need it. But, put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gets a +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So, this one is you're going to take control of a creature, and that's in your opponent's graveyard. You're going to take control of it, put a +2 on it, so whatever it is, it gets 2 extra. It's going to have haste, so it can go and attack right as soon as you pull them out. And then instead of sacking it at the end of your turn, it goes until the next end step. So he can also block. So you only need one of those because it's a high cost. You don't want too many of them, but it's a good one to take control of your opponent's creatures and have yourself a bigger playing field. Jaya's Greeting is another instant, and it's a low cost. It's 2, so only one run of these. But Jaya's Greeting deals 3 damage to target creature, and then you scry 1. So when you pull this card, you can look at the top card of your deck to see what you got coming up, and you know what you got ahead. But it's a creature removal pretty much, because when you're playing Modern and Standard, there's not very many really large creatures, so that's a good way just to remove a creature and to see what you got coming. Getting into your sorceries. Your Severed Strands. This is another bitch card. So, at a 2 cost, as an additional cost to cast a spell, you can sacrifice a creature. If you do, you gain, or not if you do because you have to, but you gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Destroy target creature and opponent control. So that's, if they happen to have a really large one out, go ahead and sack one of your small creatures. You gain that life. And then their large creature, for the cost of your small one, gets removed. This is basically just going to give you a death touch on your small creature to remove a really large creature that they really have no say in. So that's a bitch card. Get you some Sovereign's Bite. So I got 3 of those in here. And what this card does is target player loses 3 life, and you gain 3 life. So, rule of 3. 3, 3, and 3. And it's a 2 cost. So, not really rule, but 3. But, this is one of those that came out of the core set 2019, and everybody hates 2019. I actually like it. I run a lot of cards out of there. But I run 3 of these. So, yeah. It's that's almost a game winner, being that you only start off with 20 life, and that's already hitting you for 9, and then you're gaining 3 life back. So that's a good little another dirty hooker card. This is a card that, like I said, not all of them in here, but this is one that I feel like runs really, really good with hookers, with girls. It's a Blightning, and it's a sorcery for a relatively low cost. It's a 3 cost. And Blightning deals 3 damage to a target player, and then that player discards 2 cards. So that is, if they want to mill you and you really want to hurt them and make it go faster, then you can make you think that you're going to mill them. Yeah, wow, I can't really talk right there. Anyway, but yeah, that's a good one to throw out there. That's a strong card, so strong sorcery, and it plays as an instant. All right, now get into your creatures. Going to start off with a vampire, a female vampire that has lifelink. You're going to get you Child of the Night for a 2 cost. So you can get that one out rather early. And look at that. It is a core set 2019. And it has lifelink. So damage dealt by this creature also causes you to gain that much. It deals 2 damage. And then you can throw in... You can stack that one up pretty early on to make that pretty big. And then you're getting the lifelink on it. So... And you're getting double lifelink if you use your aura that I showed you earlier. So, yeah, that one can get really big really quick. A Cosmotronic Wave. For a 4 cost, Cosmotronic Wave deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent control. Your opponents control. Creatures your opponents control can't block this turn. So, that is a field wipe. Almost, if they're playing a lot of tokens and a lot of zombies, that's going to remove that entire battlefield for you, and then they can't block. So then, if they have any of the high creatures that's up there, go ahead and attack, because they're not going to block you, and you could potentially win the game with this card. Potentially, if you have everything set up right. Next, going to run you 2 Skewer the Critics. This is another bitch card, and it is a 3 cost. It has Spectacle, and so you may cast this spell for its Spectacle cost, rather than its mana cost, if an opponent lost a life this turn. Skewer the Critics deals 3 damage to any target. So this one, you want to try to get some damage in there, and then you want to save your 1 in there if you can get that damage in, and then just hit them with 1. And this can work for any of those that deal direct damage. I mean, it can even be damage to a creature. And then you just want to, boom, go ahead and hit that with them for a low cost. So run 2 of those. Get you some free, easy damage for a really low cost, or you can play it for the 3 cost and get it anyway. There's a lot of, if you can tell, there's a lot of power of 3 in this deck. So everything's kind of low cost. This is, I found these late in here. So I added these to this deck, and it made this deck just absolutely dirty. Some Rhystic Siphon for a 5 count. 5. Unless the target player pays 3, he or she loses 5 life, and you gain 5 life. And so this is taxing them with obviously a bitch. And, or a lady. I'm sorry, women. For a beautiful, gorgeous lady. So, they're going to go ahead and you're going to tax them for 3 mana. So this is a way to go ahead and get those green players, get them losing a lot. And it works a lot. It works really good because with that exile, or with the elixir, you're going to run into these a couple times too. So, they're going to lose life, or they're going to lose mana, and then after they lose too much mana, then they're going to start losing life again because they're not going to have anything. So these are just dirty. These are really, really dirty. That's kind of what made this this dirty hookers super dirty, is these 2. But they're amazing cards. So you should run 2 of these. You could even run 4 if you wanted to, because they're just that good. Now, this one is an early one. It's a Vampire Berserker for Olivia's Dragoon. It's a 2 cost. Discard a card. Olivia's Dragoon gains flying until the end of turn. This is, if you notice your opponent has no flying defense, go ahead and hit them early for that 2 with the flying. And you're going to discard a card, so whatever. Get those high cost cards, put them in there, because you're going to get them right back in your hands with the Elixir of Immortality or anything that you're pulling back your graveyard. But the Elixir of Immortality is going to put them back in your hand eventually. So don't worry about that. Go ahead and get that flying damage in there for those 2 hits for the flying. If you notice your opponent doesn't have any flying protection, or flying defense, there we go. So go ahead and hit them with that. Just one run of them. Just run one of them. And, beautiful card. I love this card. Belle of the Brawl. For a 3 cost, it is a human knight that has a menace. And menace is, if this creature, or this, not if, but this creature cannot be blocked, except by 2 or more creatures. And whenever Belle of the Brawl attacks, another knight you control gets a +1/+0 until the end of the turn. There's no other knights in here, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you pull this out early, being that you're running black and you're playing somebody who hasn't played this deck before, they're going to assume you have some knights in there, so they're going to try to focus on here. And she hits pretty hard, so 3. And she has menace, so they can't block you with those stupid little 1/1 tokens or anything like that. You actually have to block you with a monster. Or a large creature or something, but that's a good one just to confuse your opponent if they haven't played this before. If they have, then it's a card that they're probably not going to focus on too much, which is okay, because then you can just continue to hit them. Next one, run one of the Fearless Halberder. I don't know if I said that right. The Fearless Halberder. Halberder. You're going to run this Fearless bitch with a big-ass axe. Hellbringer. So, she's a 3 cost, and she's a human warrior, and she hits for 3. That's it about her, but she's fearless. So, she hits hard, she comes out relatively early, and she's a good one to have. Getting into some big ones now. So, the Mood Mark Painter for a 4 cost has Undergrowth. She's a human shaman, so she starts off with a 2/3, and when Mood Mark Painter enters the battlefield, target creature gains menace and gets +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. It can't be blocked except by 2 or more, because it has menace, Undergrowth. So this one, if you haven't pulled your graveyard yet, this is going to make some creature really big, really quick, and then you can pull your graveyard and do it again eventually. But there you go. Just run one of hers because she's a high cost. But she is going to be a high focus point when you pull her out. 1, 2. These are a fun card to me. I used to run 4 of these in here just because they're so small cost to get out and they do some good damage. But the Duskmantle Operative. Duskmantle Operative can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or more. So, yeah, she's going to stay on the battlefield for a while because the 1/1s are going to block her. But she's going to remove them. So that's why I used to run 4 of these. I only run 2 now because I put that Rustic Siphon in there. But if you want to run 4 of her, she still runs really, really well in this deck, and it just kind of slows down the progress in here. And so instead of like a turn 8 win, you're going to go for like turn 14, and you're going to be top decking the entire time. So be careful with what you decide you want to use on the Duskmantle Operative, but she's not a bad card. Now if you're running some dirty hookers, if you're running some bitches, if you're running anything that's going to hit hard, you want to get you a Massacre Girl. Why do you want a Massacre Girl? She's kind of a high cost, you say, right? She hits not too bad, but she has menace. So 2 creatures, 2 or more, have to be able to block her. And when Massacre Girl enters the battlefield, each other creature gets a -1 until the end of turn. And whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets a -1 until the end of turn. So this is, you could potentially wipe out an entire battlefield and do some damage directly to the player because those -1s, they're going to disappear because they got negatives. So she's She's a legendary creature, so you can only run one of her, really. But she is just a beautiful card to play because you're going to throw her out and you're gonna field wipe, essentially. And if you got her, you definitely want to run her little baby sister here because, you know, there's nothing like a threesome with two twins, right? So for a 2 cost, you can do the Thrill Kill Assassin, and you want to run 2 of those like I do. Another human assassin, she's a creature. She has Death Touch and also Unleash. So you may have this creature enter the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. It can't block as long as it has a 1/1 counter on it. So you don't want to put that 1/1 counter on it, essentially, because you have the Death Touch. And you're going to run these 2, with the Massacre Girl and have 3 altogether with Death Touch. Yeah, essentially. So, beautiful card to play. And then, yeah, run all 3 of them. You'll have a good little defense that your opponent's going to think twice about. I don't really like this card, but it's a filler. It's a human pirate. It's a Dire Fleet Interlooper, and she has mana, so you have to have 2 or more. And when she enters the battlefield, it explores. So you reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land, otherwise put a 1/1 counter on this creature, then put the card back into your... Put the card back or put it into your graveyard. So, it's a way to play a free land, or just to make her a 3/3. She's kind of a high cost for what she is, so that's why I only run 1 of her. But again, I'm running all girls and red-black, so she's kind of a filler. If you can find a better one that does the same thing, you probably can. I just didn't. And she actually runs decently well in this deck just because there's a lot of menace already. Moving on, moving on. I don't know the song. It's something from that 70s show. So, Vampire Opportunist for a 2 count. And, yeah, obviously she's a vampire. So, this one is a card that later in the game gets beautiful. So, if you see this, don't try to put them out so early. Hold on to it, because you're going to get some lands. But, when you get that 7, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. And so, she stays on there. So, you can attack them, and then you can hit them with that land, and they're going to take 2 damage regardless, and you're gaining 2 life. You can run more of her if you want. I found that 1 runs just fine, and especially because it's later in the game, when they're already fighting and struggling for some life, they're going to focus on trying to get this one out, and not the other cards that you're going to start hitting them with. So, she's a fun one to play. This is what I built this deck around. Actually, no, it's not. Originally it was, but then I found a different card, which I'll show you coming up next. But Ayara, first of the Locthwain, for a 3 black cost. She's a legendary creature, Elf Noble. And when Araya, first of the Locthwain, or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And then you could sacrifice another black creature to draw a card. So this is one that they're going to focus on because you run a lot of black creatures and you're going to gain life for every creature card that you're pulling out. And then you have the graveyard pool. So if you can get her out by turn 3, they're going to try to remove this card for there. And then you can just pull her back and pull her back on there. So you definitely want to run 1 of her to make this deck dirty, because you're going to get life. You're going to get life gain on a black deck. That doesn't happen too much. You're going to get life gain on a black-red deck, which usually doesn't happen. You're going to get life on a red deck, if you want to think of it that way, which definitely doesn't happen. That's all about burn, and there's not a lot of burn in this. This is all about your life and just hitting the opponent, keeping them on that battlefield and just taking it. But this is the card that I built this around. The Xantcha Sleeper Agent for a 3 cost. Legendary creature, and she's a minion. And when Xantcha Sleeper Agent enters the battlefield, an opponent of your choice gains control of it. So you're going to give this to an opponent. And she attacks each combat if able and can't attack its owner or planeswalker its owner controls. So she can't attack you. But each turn, your turn, your opponent's turn, the other opponent's turn, if you're playing multiple people, she attacks every time for 5. And so your opponent can't block her. They can, but they're not going to, because they usually can't. They can't block people being attacked themselves for cards that they owned, and they took control of this. So it's an easy way to get 5 life. And if they only have 6 life, we will say, go ahead and attack them for that 5, and go ahead and go ahead and take the 2 life loss and draw a card, and any player may activate that ability. So, yeah, they're going to attack for 5. They're going to take 2 on it also, because any player can do that if you're playing with multiples. You can hit for 3, and they can take 2 additional. And yeah, that one's going to, if you get that out early enough, that's just a game winner. It really is. Because they got to remove their own stuff, and if they are a threat on the battlefield, there ain't nobody going to remove their graveyard or their battlefield. They're going to want that person to get off, and it's going to end it pretty quickly for them. So, definitely dirty. So far we got 2 dirty cards. And these, you want to run 6 of these. Why do you want to run 6 of these? Because this is what makes this deck extremely dirty. It is a 1 cost, so you're getting it out right off the bat. You want to run 6 of these because by house rules, 4 of those is the maximum cost. You can run 4 of anything, right? Except for legendary creatures, and so go ahead and run 6 of these so you can hit that 4 cost, and that 2 is 2 additional cards, making your deck 62. And the reason you can run 6 of these on there instead of just 4 is a deck can have any number of the cards named Shadowborn Apostle. So you're running 6 because you can, for a 1 cost also, you sacrifice 6 of these, search your library for a demon creature card, and put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. There's 2 demons in here that you're going to want to run, but yeah, like I was saying, you're going to run 6 of these to make it 62 because that is house rules. If you got something like this, Rancid Rats, anything like that you can run any amount of, 7 dwarves, you can run 7 of those. So that would go, if you're doing something house rules, you could do that also. But you have to abide by the run 4, and then extra. You have to abide by that, or our house rules anyway. So running 6 to count as 6 cards in there, but it's 60 plus 2 is how we run it. And then the other opponents can also follow the same suit if they wish. They usually don't, because, 62, nobody really cares about that. If they do, then I showed you the cards to take out. But, anyway, moving on. Getting to your demons. First, one of the first demons you want to run, and this is the card that I decided, this is specifically the demon I decided to run in here for an 8 cost. So he's high, but you can get him out relatively close. He has flying, and your opponent can't gain life. And at the beginning of each step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. So they lose 6, they're losing 6 again, they lose 12. They're losing 10, they lose 10 again, that is 20. With your Shadowborn Apostle, you can pull him out and play him for free. So you can win the game right off the bat really quick. And then another one that I run on here that I've never had to pull him out with the Shadowborn. He kind of just floats in there and comes out on his own, but he has flying. And this is the Archfiend of Ifnir, just one. And if I didn't mention this one is the Archfiend of Despair. But Archfiend of Ifnir, for a 5 cost, has flying, and then whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1 counter on each creature your opponent controls. So then you can cycle and boom, kind of wipe out the field on him. He's just a big card that kind of scares opponents because he hits for 5, and then he allows you to weaken their defenses. And he has flying, so As you can see, there's a handful of flying in here that does a lot of good damage. So, flying and menace goes really good hand in hand together. So does double strike and first strike. If you've got double strike and first strike, you're pretty much always going to win. The last card you want to do is just another Graveyard Seeker. So you want Shirei, the Shizo's Caretaker, for a 5 cost. Legendary creature, he's a spirit for any attacks for 2/2. But whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step if Shirai is still on the battlefield. So as long as he's still on there, you can run these forever. And if they try to remove them, if these are the cards you're sacking, you're putting them right back. Boom, 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 from your battlefield. So that's why you want to run 6 of these, because you're always going to have the 6 on there, especially with this guy. So when they remove that, when this is on the when he's going to your graveyard, you're pulling them right back. So free runs on these. He's this combo right here. 6 of these, and this guy, that is going to be your infinite combo, which makes this deck dirty. I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. Yeah, that's what you're going to be singing at your friends who are drunk and probably still wondering what the fuck just happened while they played that deck. But that's Dirty Hookers, and it runs 62 cards by house rules, and I showed you why we allow that, because the Shadowborn Apostle allows you to run any amount that you want in there, and I decided to run 6 to make it 62 and not like 90 or whatever. So you're allowed to run that, but they count towards that. You're just your deck pretty much becomes Pioneer. That's kind of how it works. As long as you got 4 on there at least, then you can run any amount after that. There you go. That's an easy way to explain it. 7 Dwarves, same thing. Rancid Rats, same thing. As long as you got 4 on there, then you can run as many as you want. You can't run like 3, have 60, and then that 3 make it 63. You can't do that. No, that's not the house rules. It's got to be 4 of them to make 60, and then whatever else. That's how those work per our house rules. But there you have it. Dirty Hookers. Yeah, build this deck, and I promise you'll have a lot of fun. It is, again, it's not a tournament deck. That Rustic Siphon is, I'm pretty sure it's banned. If it's not, then it should be, because it's it's pretty OP as fuck. But as you can see, that red-black does not run red-black. It is definitely like a red-green, or maybe a white-green with all the life gain, or maybe just a solid white. But that's how I planned that one out there for that graveyard pool, and just to keep it dirty, where it doesn't matter what creatures you're taking out. I'm getting life back, and I'm going to play them for free eventually. It's a lot of fun to play. Currently, it's on like a 8-game winning streak, which is like best of 3s. You play with all your friends. So it's taken out like, I think that most it took out like 5 decks in one game, relatively early. And then there was one game where it like went like the distance, where you were top carding the entire time. Those are the best games sometimes, I think, when you can get your opponent top carding, and then he can get you to top card, and then you got to try to game plan off of that. Those I always feel like are always the best usually. But I digress. That's it. That's a Dirty Hookers. Yeah. If you ain't first, you're last. Live your life by that.